I was really hesitant to make this video today because it's going to be a little controversial. Some of you will probably unsubscribe. Some of you will welcome it. And a lot of you, though, are going to think this is not what I signed up for. And you're probably going to go and get your fitness advice from another channel. And that's okay. If that's what you want to do, I'm okay with that. But I had a whole video planned for you today of why people will basically fail with their weight loss. Okay, I was all planned, had the thumbnail ready, had the description ready, I was ready to film it, I have all my bullet points ready, until last night I thought, that's not the video I really want to do. Okay, so hang in there. There's going to be a point to this video, and I will tell you that I'm going to be making a little bit of a pivot on this channel, which again, some of you are probably not going to like, some of you will, and that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. So what I want to do is I want to read something. I'm going to do some reading from my other phone because I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything, okay? And then I'll kind of explain why I'm talking about this, all right? And I'm hoping that if it just helps one person, I've done my job, okay? So there's something I want to read to you real quick, and then we'll talk about, okay, where is this coming from? Like, why am I talking about this today, okay? So here's what I wrote, and I didn't write this myself. For bodily exercise, okay, profits little. But godliness is profitable for all things, having promise of the life that is right now and the life which is to come. So let me just give you a little bit of a history, and then I'll read some more. Okay, where is this coming from? So I haven't really talked much on this channel about, what has happened in my life. How did I get into fitness to begin with? Like, where did this all happen? Okay, so let's just go all the way back. Okay, so I was raised in a Christian home. Okay, my parents made us go to church every single Sunday. And I'm going to try to make this brief. I'll try to go through this history pretty quickly so we can get to the real topic of this video. But I grew up in a Christian home. By the age of 12, I decided to get baptized in the church. And this is where I really started to develop a relationship with God until after high school. After high school, my life went totally sideways. I got mixed up in the wrong relationships. I got mixed up into drugs, alcohol, partying, even though I was actually excelling in my job. If you watch any of my videos, every now and then I used to mention what I used to do for a living. I used to be a bakery manager at a very popular, well-known grocery store here in Florida, Public Supermarkets. I did that for almost 20 years, got really burnt out with that. And I was really young at the time. I think I was an assistant manager by the time I was about 20, 21. And then by the end of 21, 22 years old, I was an actual manager, making like $50,000 a year. And that was a lot for back in the 90s. And when we're talking about the 90s, if you're not aware, I'm almost 50 years old. So I started my working career back in 1994 when I was 18 years old. I'm 49 today, so that was 31 years ago. Quit that job in 2015. Well, let me just back up a little bit. So as I was saying, I got into the whole party scene. This was after high school, did a lot of drinking, drugs. I had a brother who was 13 months younger than me. We did all these things together until one day I get a phone call that they had taken him to the hospital. He had died of a drug overdose and he died. All right. So my mind was totally just shook. I thought, how can you be raised in a Christian home and have something so devastating happen in your family? We lost a family member, my brother. I thought, this doesn't happen to Christian people. And then as I started rediscovering my faith. And I'll tell you, this is what really got me into fitness as well. So what really helped me get through that difficult time with losing my brother, I had a coworker at my job when I was a manager. He was like, hey, if you want to get your mind off of things, why don't you come with me to the gym? You'll feel better about yourself. And I was about 25 years old, by the way, when my brother died. He was 24, I was 25. Previous to 25, fitness wasn't even on my radar. Like I just said, I was in the party scene, drinking, drugs, wrong relationships. I didn't care about fitness until my brother died. Coworker invited me to the gym. I started working out. I fell in love with it. At the same time, I rediscovered my faith in God. Okay, so you put those two together, it was the two G's, gym and God, got me through that difficult time. All right, fast forward, I get married. I've got kids now. I left that job at Publix back in 2015. Here we are in 2025. I've been doing this for 10 years, doing fitness and talking to you about fitness. The majority of the people that I've coached all around the world have come from Instagram. I've helped them lose 40 pounds in 16 weeks using a coaching program that I had designed. I'm not going to throw all the before and after pictures like I do in all my other videos. I have my own transformation where I lost 70 pounds in 7 months. But last night I started thinking to myself, fitness is all great. Getting in great shape is amazing. There's a lot of overweight people who are on medications. They're dying young because of certain, diseases that are contributed because of the bad eating. But last night I started thinking, while all that is important, it's all important to stay physically active, eating right. What about working on your spiritual life? Because as I just read, and ironically, if you know where this verse is coming from, that piece of writing that I just said is actually from the Bible. It's actually from 1 Timothy 4:8. So I'll read it again real quickly. For bodily exercise profits little, but godliness is profitable for all things, having promise of the life that now is and of that which is to come. So that's from 1 Timothy 4:8, ironically enough. My name is Timothy, and I started thinking last night, am I being bold for God? Am I teaching people about how to work on their spiritual self, developing a relationship with, more specifically, Jesus? Am I doing that? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. All I'm doing is teaching people how to eat right, how to exercise, which we all know with 100% success rate, we are going to die. We can't take any of this with us. I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me on your belief in God, if you think it's some fairy tale. I think we can all agree we are all going to die someday. We can't take the money with us. We can't take possessions with us. We can't take this great looking body with us. We can't take none of it with us. We are going to spend eternity somewhere, and that's going to depend on you. And I will tell you, God is a loving God. He doesn't send anybody to hell. If people end up in hell, it's because they chose to go there. Now, I don't want to get too deep into that. I want to kind of stick to the topic. This will be for future, videos about that. Okay. But I started thinking, when I read that verse in 1 Timothy, if you don't know the history about that, the Apostle Paul, the Apostle Paul basically wrote most of the New Testament. And he was writing to Timothy, who was a young pastor. And it's kind of interesting. I've had people say, like, Tim, why don't you go into ministry and all that? I have never had a desire to do that. But you know what? Maybe God has a different plan for my life. I don't know. But I started thinking, why would the Apostle Paul be talking to Timothy about this specific topic of exercise? And while it does profit some, Paul's not against physical exercise. Let me just get that out of the way. He's not against it. He says it profits little. So there is some profit in it. But why would he be teaching or writing to Timothy about that actual subject? Was Timothy like a guy who exercised and those kind of things? So I started looking into it, and I wrote some things down as to why the Apostle Paul was speaking to Timothy about this whole physical exercise type of thing. So let me just read what I came up with and just through research, okay? So there is some context to this, okay? Like I said before, Timothy was a young pastor in Ephesus. So if you know anything about the Greeks, the Romans, they were really into sports. We all know about the gladiators. They would basically, battle to the death. They were really into their physical appearance. You go over to Europe, you're not going to see fat statues. You're going to see statues who are in shape, who are ripped, and have abs. Okay, they were really into the physical aspect of their life. All the Greek gods like Zeus and all these gods that were huge and in shape, and you've seen the movies, all that stuff. Okay, so he was a young pastor in Ephesus. Paul was mentoring Timothy, okay, on how to stay focused in ministry. Actually, you know what? Let me turn this off real quick. I have my motion detector on the camera real quick, so let me get back to that. Okay, now we're good. Paul was mentoring Timothy on how to stay focused in ministry. People around Timothy would have been caught up in all kinds of distractions, false teachings, myths, and cultural obsessions. We can stop right there. Cultural obsessions. You guys have seen me become obsessed with the scale. Oh, I got to get in shape for my cruise, got to get to 175. Just look around the gyms today, man. Just look around the gyms. We are obsessed on how we look, our bodies, all right? So Paul was reminding Timothy, don't get sidetracked. Stay focused on what produces eternal results. Like I just said earlier, you can't take nothing with you. You want to be focused more on what's going to bring you eternal results than results right now. And you and I both know it. As you age, time flies like that. You talk to an older person, they're going to say, make the most of your time because it'll be gone like that. We are here today and gone tomorrow. And you can't take none of this stuff with you. I don't care how ripped you are. In fact, you've been seeing a lot of these professional bodybuilders. It seems like every week I'm seeing some of them just keel over and die. You just have no idea when it's your time, all right? So let's move on, okay? Let's talk about the Greek culture. So Greek culture and physical training in Ephesus, where Timothy was pastoring, all right, was in the middle of a Greco-Roman culture that worshiped the body. They had gymnasiums, training for the games like the Olympics, all right, we all know about the Olympics, the gladiator stuff, and prided themselves on discipline and appearance. Physical training was highly respected, almost like how fitness influencers dominate YouTube and Instagram today. Have you ever seen an Instagram influencer or YouTube talk to you about what I'm telling you? We are trying to dominate, and I'm included in that, on how we look on the outside, all right? Now, let me be clear now. Paul isn't against exercise. He uses athletic metaphors all the time. Think about the metaphors that Paul, if you've ever read the Bible, he uses terms like this: run the race, fight the good fight. So Paul wasn't against all this stuff, but he was using it as metaphors, okay, for a much more eternal thing, all right? So he's putting it in perspective. It only benefits you for this short life. Spiritual training, on the other hand, carries weight for both this life and eternity. All right. Number 3, correcting priorities. Timothy's challenge wasn't necessarily that he was working out too much. It was that people around him might have been elevating physical health, appearance, and discipline above spiritual growth. Paul is basically saying this, all right? Physical exercise has limited benefits. Spiritual discipline benefits now, can have benefits now and forever. So priorities matter. So why does this still hit today? Like I just said, think about the culture. Gyms everywhere, fitness trends, diets, supplements, all about extending your life. I've even said that, hey, do you want to live longer? Got to get rid of the sugar and all the processed junk. I've even said it on this channel, all right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Paul said it profits little though. But it's temporary. Spiritual maturity, godliness, discipline, walking with God pays off in ways that last when your muscles and body fade. Think about that right now. Let me read that to you again. Spiritual maturity, godliness, Discipline, walking with God, pays off in ways that last when your muscles and body fade. Paul likely wrote this because people in Timothy's time, much like today, valued physical training highly. Paul wanted Timothy and the church, which is, if you're a Christian, the church is not a building, it's simply Christians who have a relationship with God. Okay, that's what the church is. It's not a physical building. To recognize, don't let a temporary pursuit overshadow the eternal one. And here's the punchline. Paul wasn't knocking exercise. He was reminding Timothy and us that eternal gains outweigh temporary ones. So, on this channel, I'm not going to be like moving totally away from fitness. You know, I even had thoughts like, oh, maybe I'll just start a whole new YouTube channel and just keep it more about faith and Jesus and that kind of thing and just stick to fitness on this channel. But I feel like that is just not who I am, okay? I had this thought, and I'll end it with this. I said, you know, like I just said, we're all going to die. I don't want to die one day. And I'm faced with Jesus, God, and he says to me, Tim, congratulations. You helped a lot of people lose weight. Good for you. You were there. But I did nothing to help people with the eternal salvation, their soul. It's all good being fit and everything, but if you get fit, one day you die, and you don't know where you're going to go, and you spend eternity somewhere, because we're all going to spend eternity somewhere, I don't want to be responsible for only telling people, oh, get fit, eat healthy, this and that, when your eternal soul is on the line. So I feel like I would be doing a disservice if I was not at least telling you what my life is all about. You know, I've kind of kept it kind of separate. They say you shouldn't mix politics and religion. That is complete BS, okay? What makes up a person is mind, body, and spirit. So those things are all combined, okay? You can combine religion, politics, you can't, that's who you are. Why would you hide from that? So I just want to leave you with that. And like I said, I'm not going to gravitate totally away from fitness, but I'm going to be sprinkling in some faith-based things that I feel like I want to do because I believe that your eternal soul is much more valuable than what we do on the outside. Although it's great, physical exercise, yes, it profits little. It does give you a profit. Eating right, we obviously, our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. God does not want us to be given into gluttony. You know what it says in the Bible about gluttony? It says that if you give into gluttony, cut your throat. That's how serious God is with food. Food is a spiritual thing. It's a mental thing. In fact, that was the video I was going to do, that the reason why you haven't lost weight or you're struggling to lose weight has nothing to do with the physical. It has nothing to do with eating this food or doing this exercise. It all starts right here in the mind. This is where it starts. The discipline, the accountability, the consistency. Those are all mental things. Those are not physical things. So it all starts right here. All right, so if you enjoy this video and you're like excited for the direction of way this is going, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and always hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. And again, I love you. I'm grateful for you supporting this channel up to this point, but I totally understand if you want to get your fitness advice from somewhere else, I'm cool with that. Until then, I will see you next time.